You ever reached for a cup without looking, and your hand found it, as if guided by an unseen force? What if I told you that buried deep within your body is a forgotten sense, a silent compass that's been guiding your every move since birth, a sense that ancient mystics hinted at, that yogis trained for, and that modern science is only just beginning to understand? This is not the sixth sense. This is the seventh. It's called proprioception, but those who've truly mastered it call it the body's secret GPS. It is the sense of the self within space. Not sight, not touch, not sound, but something more intimate, more mystical. Proprioception is the invisible thread between your consciousness and your flesh, between intention and motion. It's what allows dancers to move blindfolded, martial artists to strike with precision, and spiritual practitioners to leave their bodies without ever getting lost. And yet, almost no one talks about it. Why? Because to understand proprioception is to challenge the illusion that your awareness is limited to your five senses. It is to discover that your body has a secret intelligence, one that ancient traditions preserved in rituals, temple dances, and hidden texts. In this video, we're going to journey through this forgotten realm. We'll explore what ancient civilizations knew about this mysterious sense, how it connects to the flow of chi, kundalini, and the subtle body. We'll break down how this internal compass works, and what happens when it's awakened. And most importantly, we'll learn how to harness it, refine it, and use it to walk more consciously through this reality and beyond. Because once you activate your seventh sense, you begin to move differently, not just in the world, but through dimensions of thought, energy, and being. Ready to feel the unseen? Long before science gave it a name, the seventh sense was revered by mystics, warriors, and sages alike. It was never labeled proprioception, but its presence was embedded in ritual, movement, and the whispered teachings of the initiates. In ancient Egypt, temple dancers performed intricate sacred rites blindfolded, stepping with uncanny precision as if moved by something deeper than memory. The priests believed that these movements opened gateways between worlds, requiring not just practice, but a communion with what they called Ka, the vital essence that animated the body and connected it to the divine. The dancer was not moving through space. Space was moving through the dancer. In India, the yogis mapped the subtle body long before neuroscientists ever touched a brain. They spoke of kinesthetic prajna, the wisdom of the body. Not just motion, but awareness of motion. Yogic texts hinted at the inner eye of the limbs, a sense of location, alignment, and energy flow independent of vision. It was through this eye, they said, that one could learn to transcend the physical and enter states of pure consciousness. The samurai, too, trained relentlessly not just in combat, but in the cultivation of mushin no shin, the mind without mind. It was this state of absolute presence, governed by an intuitive awareness of the body in space, that allowed them to strike without hesitation, dodge without thought. Their battles were not won with sight or strategy, but with instinct sharpened to a blade's edge. But what unites these practices is something deeper. They all point to a fundamental truth. You are not just in your body. Your body is in you. And proprioception, this seventh sense, is the thread that holds the two together. Philosophers like Plato mused on an inner harmony that kept the soul aligned with the form. Taoist masters spoke of Wu Wei, effortless action that emerges when the body's movements are aligned with the unseen flows of the Tao. Even in early Christian mysticism, monks spoke of becoming aware of the limbs in silence, a meditative state where the boundary between self and space seemed to blur. So what happened? Why did this wisdom, once honored across the globe, fade into obscurity? With the rise of mechanistic science and industrial thinking, the human body was reduced to a machine. Limbs became levers, joints became hinges. The body was dissected, categorized, and standardized, but its intelligence was forgotten. In the modern age, we've outsourced our awareness to devices, screens, and external systems. GPS tells us where we are, Mirrors tell us how we look. Cameras tell us what we did. But the internal compass, the deep sense of presence that comes from within, has gone quiet. Yet it never disappeared. It only waited. And now, as more people awaken to forgotten dimensions of self, this ancient knowing begins to stir once more. In the next section, we'll explore the mechanics of proprioception, not as a sterile scientific function, but as a mystical force encoded in our very being. Because this seventh sense doesn't just tell you where your body is, it whispers where your soul wants to go. Proprioception. It sounds clinical, almost sterile. But beneath that term lies one of the most profound faculties of human existence, one that bridges the material and the mystical. In scientific terms, proprioception is the body's ability to sense its position in space. It tells you where your arms are even with your eyes closed, lets you walk without staring at your feet, and allows you to touch your nose without missing. But that's just the surface. That's the label, not the truth. Because what if proprioception isn't just about position, but about presence? What if this sense is not just a tool for physical balance, but spiritual alignment? Let's begin with what's happening beneath the skin. Throughout your muscles, joints, and fascia lie millions of receptors, silent watchers that constantly transmit data to the brain. These are your body's inner eyes, not watching the outside world, but feeling the inner one. When you raise your hand, you don't see it move, you feel it move. When you close your eyes and spin slowly in place, you still know which direction you're facing. This sense is so foundational, so primal, that you rarely notice it, unless it's gone. Yet here's the mystery. Proprioception isn't just reactive. It's predictive. It tells the body what to expect, not just what is. It's as if your body is constantly whispering, here's where we are, and here's where we're going. Some researchers call it feed-forward, the brain's ability to predict movement before it happens. But in ancient terms, this would be known as inner knowing, the instinctive guidance that connects body, mind, and energy. Imagine walking through a dense forest. Every step is uncertain, vision is limited, but somehow, you weave through branches and roots without pause. You move not by sight, but by trust. That trust is proprioception. This is why dancers often speak of being moved by the music, rather than consciously choreographing each step. It's why martial artists speak of feeling the fight, rather than thinking about it. Their seventh sense is active, not just physically, but intuitively. Now picture this. If proprioception can guide you through physical space, could it also guide you through spiritual space? Esoteric teachings across cultures suggest yes. In Qigong, movement flows from the dantian, the body's energetic center, just below the navel. Practitioners don't just move, they feel the movement from within. They describe the sensation of being moved, rather than moving. In Kabbalistic texts, the idea of the Merkaba, or chariot mysticism, involves navigating inner realms with perfect alignment, every part of the self in harmony, each motion meaningful. A spiritual proprioception of sorts. And in lucid dreaming or astral projection, experienced practitioners report a distinct awareness of their non-physical body, the subtle form that exists beyond the flesh. They feel their arms, legs, and position even while floating outside their physical form. So what does this mean? It means proprioception may be more than a neurological function. It may be the interface between body and soul. A silent guide that not only tells you where you are, but also reminds you that you are here. And yet, this is only the beginning. Because while proprioception guides the body, it also reveals something deeper. It shows us that we are not separate pieces stitched together, but one flowing awareness inhabiting a form. In part 2, we'll delve into the esoteric dimensions of this sense. We'll explore the myths that surround it, the misunderstandings that limit it, and the deeper truth it hides. That when the seventh sense awakens, you don't just move through the world. You move through realities. So far, we've explored proprioception as a bodily function and a subtle form of inner awareness. But what happens when we stretch beyond the boundaries of bone and muscle and listen to the myths, to the forgotten truths hidden in ancient symbols and sacred practices? Throughout mystical history, there's a recurring theme. The body is a temple, and within it lies the map of the cosmos. To the untrained eye, proprioception is just balance and movement. But to the mystic, it's the key to unlocking embodied consciousness, the realization that awareness isn't confined to the brain, but is diffused throughout the entire body, and beyond it. In Hindu philosophy, the kosas, or sheaths of the self, describe layers of human experience. The physical body is the outermost. But just beneath that is the pranamaya kosha, the energetic body. Proprioception exists in the liminal space between these layers. It is the translator, converting motion into meaning, sensation into spirit. Have you ever walked into a space and felt something shift? Your posture adjusts. Your chest tightens or relaxes. You feel suddenly watched, or welcomed, or weighed down. That isn't just intuition. It's proprioception tuned to subtle energy. Ancient Chinese medicine knew this well. The meridians, energetic pathways flowing through the body, are invisible to modern scans, yet acupuncture and Tai Chi practitioners rely on them with uncanny precision. Why? Because they've developed a heightened proprioceptive sense of energy flow. They feel what others cannot. And then there's the phenomenon of the phantom limb, where amputees continue to feel sensations in limbs that are no longer there. Scientists explain this through neural maps and cortical pathways. But mystics might say, the energetic imprint remains. The proprioceptive self remembers. In esoteric Christianity, too, there are parallels. Early desert mystics spoke of the garment of light, a body not made of flesh, but woven of pure awareness. This, they claimed, could be felt and cultivated through silence, fasting, and prayer. They weren't just quieting the mind. They were activating a sense that could perceive without the eyes. Here lies the paradox. Proprioception is both the most physical and the most spiritual of senses. It anchors us to the body, while freeing us from identification with it. And yet, modern society dulls this sense daily. We sit for hours, staring at screens, locked in disembodied routines. Our posture collapses, our awareness scatters, and slowly, we forget that we are here. The body becomes a vehicle we ignore until it breaks down. But when the seventh sense is awakened, something profound occurs. You become present. Not just mentally but somatically. You feel the pull of gravity and the resistance of air. You feel energy rise up your spine, spiral through your limbs, settle in your heart. You notice tension not as discomfort, but as a message. The body begins to speak. And some say, it begins to listen. This is how mystics walk barefoot on fire, sit in snow for days without freezing, or stretch the body into shapes that defy physics. Not because they deny their body, but because they've entered it more fully than most ever do. And now we return to a question we left open earlier. If proprioception guides you through physical space, could it guide you through spiritual dimensions as well? Yes. But only when cultivated. Only when remembered. This is not a passive sense. It is a path. A path to becoming lucid while awake. A path to understanding that consciousness doesn't float above the body. It radiates through it. In the next section, we'll step into that path together. We'll explore practices, ancient and modern, that can sharpen your proprioception, awaken your inner GPS, and reconnect you to the sacred intelligence that lives beneath your skin. Because this knowledge was never truly lost. It was only waiting for you to come back home.
Now that we've explored the depths of proprioception, the seventh sense, as both a physical function and a spiritual compass, the question becomes, how do you awaken it? How do you reclaim this ancient, embodied awareness in a modern world that constantly pulls you out of yourself? The good news is, You don't need advanced degrees or decades of training. You need presence. You need practice. And most of all, you need to listen. Let's start simple. Cyclone 1. The stillness scan. Once a day, pause everything. No music. No phone. No tasks. Stand or sit in silence and do a full body scan with your attention. Start at your feet. Move slowly upward. Ask yourself, what do I feel? Notice pressure, heat, tingling, or nothing at all. You are not imagining, you are awakening dormant sensory channels. This alone begins to rewire the neural map of proprioception. Cyclone 2. Blind movement practice. Try simple movements like brushing your teeth, pouring water, or walking, in low light or with eyes closed. This is not about challenge, it's about trust. You're not just practicing balance, you're activating your internal navigation. As you move, ask, how do I know where I am? The answer will come, not as thought, but sensation. Cyclone 3. Mirrorless rituals. Modern life teaches us to rely on mirrors to know ourselves. But mystics never did. Try dancing, stretching, or doing yoga without a mirror. Let your awareness shape your posture, not your eyes. Let movement become meditation. You may find your body moving in ways it never has before, because now it's leading, not performing. Cyclone 4. Energy mapping. In ancient Qigong and yogic practices, students were taught to visualize energy not just as light, but as motion within motion. Stand in a grounded posture, breathe deeply, and as you exhale, imagine your awareness filling your body like water. Let it swirl through joints, limbs, and the spine. Then begin slow movement, like Tai Chi or gentle flow yoga. Feel energy flow before the body follows. This is advanced proprioception. This is the path to subtle body mastery. Cyclone 5. Sacred walking. Walking is often mechanical. But what happens when it becomes sacred? Try this. Walk slowly, deliberately, preferably barefoot or on natural ground. With each step, feel your foot meet the earth. Feel the transfer of weight, the sway of the hips, the pull of gravity. Don't think about walking. Feel it. This is one of the oldest spiritual practices known to humankind. The shamans did it. The monks did it. And so can you. But there's more to this awakening than exercises. You'll begin to notice subtle shifts. You react less, respond more. You move with grace, not force. You start to sense what's happening in your body before pain speaks up. You even begin to feel your presence expand, beyond the skin, beyond the room. Because proprioception isn't just a tool, it's a teacher. When you learn to follow its guidance, life becomes more than motion. It becomes a dance with the unseen. And here's something to remember. You've already used this sense before. Every time you felt something was off. Every time your body flinched before danger. Every time you entered a room and knew you were being watched. That was your seventh sense whispering to you. The more you listen, the louder it speaks. So be patient. Be curious. Be still enough to feel. Because this secret GPS was never lost. It was just waiting for you to remember the way back in.
We began with a question, one that felt almost too strange to be real. Could there be a hidden sense guiding your every step, silently, faithfully, from within? And now, we know. Not only does this seventh sense exist, it may be the most vital of them all. Not because it helps us move, but because it helps us remember. Remember that we are not just minds floating in space. We are embodied consciousness, beings of form and formlessness, walking temples of awareness. Proprioception is more than a biological trick. It's a thread connecting the physical and the mystical. It's the compass that ancient mystics used to align with the cosmos. It's the quiet whisper that says, "You are here. You have always been here." and your body remembers the way. In a world that constantly fragments our attention, this sense calls us back to unity, to presence, to the sacred intelligence beneath the skin. So the next time you close your eyes and feel your body in motion, or sense your posture shift in the presence of something unseen, or simply walk, slowly, intentionally, feeling the earth meet your feet, know that you are tapping into something timeless, something holy, something true. And if you follow that sense, if you listen deeply enough, you may find it guiding you not just through space, but through layers of reality you've only begun to remember. Sparkles. If this journey stirred something within you, an ancient knowing, a quiet thrill, then consider subscribing. Not just to this channel, but to the forgotten wisdom already alive inside you. Share this with someone who's ready to remember. And tell me in the comments, when was the last time you truly felt your body from the inside out? Because the seventh sense is waking up. And it's time we all started listening.